Why do so many men and women fall into despair when others betray them, control them, or stand in their way? Because they have built their strength on the fragile approval of others. But you will learn what they never understood, that nothing and nobody can ever break you, control you, or stop you. Every man speaks of strength as if it lies in the weight of his sword, the reach of his armies, or the gold within his vaults. Yet history proves again and again that these are but fragile illusions. A sword breaks, armies betray, gold vanishes in the night. What then is true strength? It is the fortress that no enemy can besiege, the treasure that no thief can steal, the weapon that never dulls. It is the power of inner fortitude. The weak believe that power comes from what they hold in their hands, but the strong know that power begins within the mind. You may strip a man of his crown, exile him from his home, scatter his allies, and leave him with nothing. But if his will remains unbroken, he still possesses the seat of power, a force that cannot be destroyed. This is why the greatest rulers in history were not those who inherited their kingdoms, but those who built them from exile, from ruin, from ashes. For a man who has mastered his own will is more dangerous than 10,000 soldiers who merely follow orders. Think of the man who panics at the first sign of loss. When fortune turns against him, he cries out as if the world has ended. His wealth disappears, and so does his confidence. His allies abandon him, and so does his spirit. He believes he has been broken, but in truth, he was already broken long before, for his strength depended on what lay outside of him. The man who builds his power on possessions is no more secure than a house built on sand. When the storm comes, it crumbles, and he with it. Now imagine another man stripped of everything, wandering in exile, betrayed, forgotten, despised. Yet within his mind, there burns a fire that no wind can extinguish. He does not rely on the approval of the crowd, nor the protection of titles, nor the comfort of fortune. His strength is born of discipline, clarity, and will. Even in defeat, he is unconquered, because he refuses to yield the only fortress that truly matters, the sovereignty of his own spirit. This man will rise again, and when he does, he will stand taller than those who once mocked his fall. The world will always test you. Life will strip away what you hold dear, friends will betray you, enemies will plot against you, fortunes will vanish, and death will touch those you love. Most men, when faced with these storms, collapse under their weight. They curse fate, they surrender, they cry that the world is unfair. But the man of fortitude endures. He bends, but he does not break. He adapts, but he does not surrender. He suffers, but he does not lose his command over himself. This is why such men outlast their enemies. They cannot be crushed, because their foundation lies not in the shifting sands of circumstance, but in the unyielding stone of their own resolve. To build this fortitude requires more than simple courage. It demands mastery over one's desires and emotions. Most men are prisoners of their impulses. A flash of anger, and they ruin alliances. A spark of envy, and they destroy friendships. A surge of fear, and they abandon their ambitions. But the man of fortitude is his own master. He does not deny emotion, but he does not serve it. He feels anger, but does not let it dictate his hand. He feels fear, but does not let it steer his course. He feels sorrow, but does not drown in it. His emotions serve him, not the other way around. There is a simple truth that few dare to face. The majority of mankind lives as slaves, not to kings or rulers, but to their own weakness. They are chained by hunger for comfort, by thirst for recognition, by fear of pain. They believe they are free, but the moment hardship arrives, their chains rattle, and they are revealed for what they are. The man of fortitude has no such chains. He has faced hunger and endured it. He has faced rejection and risen above it. He has faced fear and conquered it, and so he walks among others untouchable, because he has already defeated the only true enemy, himself. Consider how rulers maintain their power. They build armies, but armies rebel. They accumulate wealth, but wealth decays. They rely on allies, but allies betray. The ruler who survives the fall of fortune is the one who built his strength not only on external might, but on inner resolve. A ruler who can endure exiliation or loss and yet remain unshaken in will is the most dangerous kind of ruler, for fortune itself cannot conquer him. And what of you? Have you built your strength on the unstable ground of what others think of you? Does your spirit rise and fall with the opinions of the crowd? Do you imagine yourself powerful because of your possessions, your status, your relationships? If so, you are already preparing your own downfall, for these things are fragile, and they will betray you when you need them most. But if you begin to strip away these illusions, if you begin to root your power not in the world outside you, but in the will within you, then you will find a strength that no betrayal, no loss, no misfortune can take away. The man of fortitude is feared because he cannot be destroyed. Strike him down and he rises. Silence him, and he endures. Leave him with nothing, and he still commands himself. He is not dependent on luck, for he knows luck is treacherous. He is not owned by desire, for he knows desire is endless. He is not conquered by suffering, for he has already embraced suffering as the price of greatness. This is why such men dominate history. They are remembered not for what fortune gave them, but for what it could never take away. Do you know why so many men and women, no matter how strong they appear, eventually fall under the control of others? It is not because they lack talent, nor because fate is cruel. It is because they allow invisible chains to be placed upon them. Chains forged from praise, from fear, from love, from guilt. And once these chains are accepted, they no longer belong to themselves. The rulers of the world, the generals of armies, the merchants of wealth, all of them know this secret. Men can be controlled not by force alone, but by the delicate strings of their emotions. Praise a man enough, and he will bend his will to seek your approval. Threaten him with loss, and he will move mountains to protect what he fears losing. Whisper promises of love or belonging, and he will sacrifice his dignity to keep it. This is how the world binds you, not with iron shackles, but with the subtler prisons of the mind. If you would be unbreakable, if you would be unstoppable, you must first master the art of refusing these chains. You must learn to see through flattery, to strip away the mask of fear, and to treat manipulation as smoke that cannot grasp you. For the truth is simple: no one can control a man who does not hunger for their approval, and no one can enslave a mind that refuses to bow to guilt. Consider the chain of praise. Most men are its slaves. They crave recognition like a starving beggar craves bread. The applause of the crowd, the compliments of friends, the approval of lovers. These become the intoxicating wine that weakens their reason. A man who lives for the words "well done" is no different than a dog waiting for scraps at the table. He believes himself free, but in truth he is shackled. Whoever controls his praise controls his actions. Such a man will betray his own principles just to hear the sweet poison of admiration once more. But if you, like the lion, can rise above this hunger, if you can act with strength whether praised or condemned, then no flatterer will ever command you. Then there is the chain of fear. How many rulers have ruled not by wisdom, but by the terror they instilled? How many husbands, wives, and lovers have manipulated with the silent threat of abandonment or punishment? Fear is the oldest tool of control, and it remains the most effective against the weak. A man afraid of losing wealth will sell his soul to keep it. A woman afraid of loneliness will kneel to those unworthy of her. Fear turns men into slaves, not because the danger is always real, but because the imagination of the weak magnifies it beyond reason. Yet those who strip fear from their hearts stand above their captors. For what can you threaten a man with when he has already accepted loss, when he has already prepared himself for the worst? A man who fears nothing cannot be commanded. And then, the chain of love and belonging, perhaps the most subtle and dangerous of all. Men have given away their crowns for a smile, their empires for affection, their dignity for acceptance. They are led not by reason, but by the desperate hunger to be seen, to be cherished, to be wanted. How many betray their greatness because they fear the cold of being alone? How many lower their heads to unworthy rulers, unworthy lovers, unworthy crowds, all to keep the illusion of belonging? Do not mistake mere love as powerful, but it must never be your master. If your soul bends at the command of another, then you have already surrendered the most precious thing, your sovereignty. Love should be chosen, never owed. It should enhance you, not enslave you. When you no longer need it, then and only then are you free to truly enjoy it. But perhaps the cruelest chain is guilt. Society weaves it like a net. Parents hand it down to children, rulers lace it into laws, lovers twist it into whispers. You are told you owe loyalty, obedience, sacrifice, because without them you are a monster. But guilt is merely another leash, used to keep you docile. They will tell you that you are selfish if you choose yourself, cruel if you walk away, ungrateful if you demand more. And so, countless men and women surrender their freedom at the altar of guilt, believing virtue demands their chains. Do not be deceived. True strength is not measured by how obediently you serve another's expectation. True strength is the ability to live without apology, to act from clarity rather than compulsion, to say no when the world demands you kneel. When you see these chains for what they are, you begin to realize how fragile control truly is. It depends entirely on your consent. The flatterer can only rule the man who craves approval. The tyrant can only rule the man who fears punishment. The manipulator can only rule the man who starves for love. The guilt monger can only rule the man who believes he must justify his every action. Withdraw your consent, and their power dissolves into dust. So I ask you, how many chains are upon you right now? Whose approval do you chase? Whose threats do you fear? Whose love makes you bend? Whose guilt forces your obedience? If you are honest, you will see that the world has wrapped you tighter than you realized. But honesty is the first step to breaking free. For once you see the prison, you can walk beyond it. You must cultivate an indifference to the weapons others use against you. Let praise fall on deaf ears. Let fear wash over you like rain. Let love come as a gift, not a command. Let guilt be exposed as the trick it always was. When you reach this place, you will become untouchable. They may shout, flatter, or beg, but their hands will grasp at smoke. Their words will bounce off a fortress they cannot enter. And while they exhaust themselves trying to control you, you will walk forward untouched, unbent, and unowned. Every man imagines his path will be smooth, as if fate owes him a straight road paved with opportunity. But soon he discovers the truth: life is filled with barriers, betrayals, storms, and enemies who seek to stop him. For some, these obstacles are the end of their story. They stumble, they fall, and they never rise again. But for others, the obstacle becomes the very reason they grow stronger. These men, the few who refuse to be stopped, understand a secret that the weak will never grasp. Obstacles are not curses, but weapons. The river that meets a boulder does not cry out in despair. It does not turn back, nor does it surrender. It carves a new path, patiently, relentlessly, until the boulder is left behind. This is the way of the strong. They do not collapse when the world blocks their ambition. They do not curse fortune for betrayal. They look at the obstacle and say, "This is the test. This is the forge. This is where I become dangerous." Look at history and you will see it clearly. The greatest men were not made in times of ease, but in times of resistance. Exile produced rulers, poverty produced kings, betrayal produced conquerors. Fortune, in her cruelty, strips away illusions so that only the unshakable survive. And those who endure, those who rise from ruin, are feared far more than those who were handed power without struggle. For a man who has built himself from nothing cannot be broken by anything. Consider the man who faces betrayal. His friends abandon him, his allies turn to enemies, and he finds himself alone. The weak man curses his fate. He begs for loyalty that no longer exists. He hides in despair, and thus, he is finished. But the strong man does not waste his tears. He takes betrayal as a lesson that loyalty is rare, that trust is fragile, that power must rest not in the hands of others, but in the discipline of one's own will. He does not crumble when betrayed. He sharpens himself, learns to walk alone, and becomes immune to disappointment. Such a man emerges more dangerous than before, because he has discovered he needs no one to survive. Or think of poverty, the obstacle most men fear. To lose wealth is, for many, to lose identity. They shrink, ashamed of their empty hands, humiliated that they no longer shine in the eyes of others. But poverty, for the ruthless mind, is a school of power. It teaches hunger, it breeds resourcefulness, it forces cunning. A man who has walked through poverty and conquered it learns skills that wealth can never teach. He learns to move without comfort, to think without safety, to fight without advantage. And when fortune finally grants him resources again, he wields them like a master, not a slave. Then there are those who face rejection. The world laughs at them, closes doors in their face, mocks their ambition. For many, this rejection is enough to break their spirit, but the one who defies obstacles does not seek permission from the world. He does not beg to be accepted. He forces his way through indifference, and when the door is closed, he builds another entrance. It is the rejected man who, when he finally takes power, rules with unshakable authority, for he knows what it means to be denied. He has carved his place without approval, and so he is owned by no one. Even failure itself, the terror of most men, is but another obstacle waiting to be mastered. Failure reveals truths that success hides. Success flatters, blinds, deceives, but failure strips away illusion and exposes weakness. The weak see failure as death. The strong see it as the hand that sculpts them. Each defeat teaches them strategy, patience, resilience. Each loss steels their heart against the despair that ruins lesser men. In the end, failure becomes their ally, for it has taught them what victory never could. The obstacle is the measure of your greatness. A man who has faced no trials is soft, brittle, and tested. He may appear strong, but he is fragile, for the first storm will destroy him. A man who has been broken and rebuilt, again and again, is indestructible. Each scar becomes a shield, each hardship a weapon. He walks with the calm assurance that no obstacle can truly stop him, for he has already faced worse. Understand this: the world conspires against ambition. The higher you climb, the more resistance you will face. Envy, betrayal, fear. These will come for you, not because you are weak, but because your rise threatens others. They will throw stones, spread lies, block your path. The weak retreat at this resistance, but the cunning man sees it as proof that he is moving in the right direction. For no one wastes effort stopping what is harmless. If they conspire against you, it means you matter. If they try to break you, it means you are already powerful. Do not pray for a life without obstacles. That is the prayer of the slave, the coward, the child. Instead, sharpen yourself against the barriers set before you. Treat them as the fire that tempers steel. Without resistance, you remain unshaped, soft, ordinary. With resistance, you transform into something unbreakable. The obstacle does not stop you, it creates you. And yet, you must beware the greatest danger: surrender. For most men, the obstacle is not what destroys them. What destroys them is their choice to stop fighting. The stone in the road is not fatal. It is the decision to sit down before it and never rise again that seals their fate. Remember this: no obstacle has power unless you grant it power. The world cannot truly stop you. Only you can stop yourself. The river flows, and so must you. If one path is blocked, carve another. If one door is closed, break it. If one plan fails, make a better one. Fortune will test you, but she cannot destroy you unless you allow her to. Every man desires power, yet most will never possess it. Not because fate denies them, nor because enemies defeat them, but because they cannot command themselves. The greatest empire you will ever rule is not over nations, not over armies, not over men. It is over yourself. He who cannot master his own impulses, his own fears, his own desires will always be a servant, even if he wears a crown. Look around you. How many men imagine themselves free, when in truth they are slaves, not to kings, not to tyrants, but to their appetites. They rise when their hunger commands them. They speak when anger burns in their chest. They retreat when fear whispers in their ear. They chase pleasures until they are exhausted, then beg for discipline when their weakness ruins them. Such men believe they hold authority, but they are nothing more than puppets. Their strings are pulled by their emotions, and their downfall is inevitable. The first battlefield every man must conquer is within himself. For what use is victory in the world if you are defeated by your own mind? The soldier who fears death more than dishonor cannot be trusted. The merchant who loves gold more than honor will sell himself for profit. The ruler who cannot restrain his lust for praise will be led by flatterers into ruin. A man without self-mastery is like a fortress with open gates, inviting the enemy to enter, waiting for conquest. Discipline is the foundation of mastery. Without discipline, talent rots, ambition dissolves, power fades. It is discipline that separates the ruler from the ruled, the predator from the prey. The disciplined man rises when others sleep. He acts when others hesitate. He restrains when others indulge. And so he builds strength invisible to the careless. Day by day, decision by decision, he sharpens himself into a weapon. Discipline is not punishment, as the weak imagine. It is liberation. For when you command yourself, no one else commands you. But discipline alone is not enough. You must also master your desires. Desire is endless, insatiable. A man who chases pleasure is like a beast chasing shadows. It never ends, and he is led wherever the shadow moves. Women, gold, recognition, comfort. These are the bait by which countless men are controlled. The tyrant does not need chains to enslave the weak. He needs only to offer them what they cannot resist. The man who governs his desires is feared, for he cannot be bought, seduced, or lured into traps. He does not move for promises. He does not kneel for indulgence. He does not sell his soul for comfort. He chooses desire. He does not serve it. Then there is anger, the poison that has destroyed empires. One spark of rage has ended dynasties. One reckless outburst has ruined rulers. Anger blinds reason, strips judgment, and hands your power to others. For when you rage, you are predictable. You reveal your weakness. You show where you can be provoked, and your enemies will exploit it without mercy. The man of mastery feels anger, but it is his weapon, not his master. He uses it to intimidate when needed, to strike when advantageous, but never allows it to drag him into chaos. He wears his anger as a cloak, not as chains. Fear, too, is a tyrant that rules the many. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of death. Most men bow before fear as if it were a god. They abandon ambition to remain safe. They betray dreams to remain comfortable. They surrender dignity to avoid risk. But fear is an illusion, a shadow that disappears the moment you walk into it. The man who conquers fear is untouchable. Threats cannot move him. Danger cannot deter him. The unknown cannot stop him. He becomes a creature of terrifying freedom, because he is not held hostage by survival itself. Even more dangerous than fear or anger is weakness disguised as kindness. Many are slaves not to their enemies, but to those they love. They lack the strength to say no. They allow guilt, affection, and obligation to steer their life. But understand this: if you cannot command yourself in the face of those closest to you, you will never command yourself against the world. The man of mastery knows when to withdraw, when to harden, when to sever ties that weaken his resolve. He is not cruel, but he is not owned. His love is chosen, not coerced, and his loyalty is given, not stolen. To master yourself is to build an inner throne that no one can overthrow. The storms of fortune may rage, but they cannot move you. Enemies may scheme, but they cannot bind you. Temptations may whisper, but they cannot sway you. You become your own ruler, your own commander, your own sovereign. And from this place of mastery, true power flows outward, for only the man who governs himself can govern others. Think of the opposite. A man who lacks mastery may rise high, but his downfall is certain. The general who cannot master his pride will lead his army into traps. The king who cannot master his lust will be manipulated by those who feed it. The merchant who cannot master greed will gamble away his fortune. The politician who cannot master vanity will dance for applause until he is humiliated. Without self-mastery, every form of power becomes a borrowed mask, destined to be ripped away. But the man who conquers himself carries a strength that does not fade. He is steady when others tremble, calm when others rage, clear when others are blinded by temptation. He walks as if fortune itself serves him, because he does not bow to her whims. This is the secret that separates the few who rule history from the many who are forgotten. They that were masters, not of the world first, but of themselves. And so, you have seen the path. Strength begins not in crowns or swords, but in the fortress of your own will. No flattery, no fear, no betrayal, no hardship can break the man whose spirit refuses surrender. Obstacles may rise, enemies may conspire, fortune may turn her face against you, but the one who commands himself will always carve a way forward. To endure betrayal without despair, to face poverty without shame, to rise from failure without hesitation. This is the mark of one who cannot be broken. To resist the chains of praise, love, and guilt. This is the freedom that no tyrant can take. And to master desire, anger, and fear. This is the sovereignty greater than any throne. Remember this: empires fall, wealth fades, allies betray, and even the strongest body withers. But the man who commands his own mind walks untouched through every storm. He is feared, for no weapon can wound him, no enemy can bind him, no fate can destroy him. Become such a man, and you will discover the rarest form of power, the kind that nothing and nobody can ever break, control, or stop.